All right, let's talk containers. For years, one name has just completely dominated the scene. You know who I'm talking about. But now a really powerful challenger has stepped into the ring, and it's promising a leaner, meaner, and more secure way of doing things. Today, we're diving into a technical showdown. It's Podman versus Docker. So let's just cut right to the chase. Docker versus Podman. Who actually wins this thing? Is the reigning champ still the greatest of all time, or does this new challenger really have what it takes to steal the crown? That's the big question we're going to answer right now. So here's our fight card for today. First, we're going to meet the contenders. Then, we'll get into the real technical main event, the whole daemon versus daemonless debate. After that, it's a security showdown, and then we'll look at commands and compatibility. And in the final round, we're going to help you pick your champion. All right, let's kick things off with round one, getting to know our two main players. In one corner, you've got the tool that literally defined an entire era of software development, and in the other, a modern challenger that's built on a completely different philosophy. So in this corner, we've got Docker, the tool that made containers a household name for pretty much every developer out there. It's the incumbent, the one that set the standard we all know. And in the other corner, you have Podman. It's newer, it's more agile, and it's built with this laser focus on open standards and a totally different take on security and architecture. Okay, now for the main event, Section 2. This gets into the single biggest difference between these two, and that's their architecture. This is the core philosophical divide, and trust me, it changes everything, from how it handles security to how it integrates with your system. This right here illustrates that core difference perfectly. See, Docker uses a classic client-server model. Your command line, the client, talks to this single, always-on background process, the daemon, and that daemon manages everything. Podman? It throws that whole idea out. It's daemonless. When you run a command, it just directly creates the container. There's no middleman. And just so we're all on the same page, what the heck is a daemon anyway? Well, the easiest way to think about it is like a background butler. It's a program that's always running in the background, just waiting for requests. But it's not something you're directly interacting with. It just works behind the scenes. So why does this whole daemonless thing matter so much? Well, first off, there's no single point of failure. Think about it. If the Docker daemon crashes, all your containers can go down with it. With Podman, that risk is just gone. It also plays really nicely with standard Linux services like systemd. And this is a big one. It makes your audit logs way clearer, because every action is tied directly to the user who ran the command, not some generic daemon. It's just a simpler, more direct, and you could argue a more robust architecture. Now, this architectural difference leads us directly into our next round, the security showdown. Because whether or not you have a daemon has huge implications for one of the most important concepts in container security, running as root. Historically, the Docker daemon has to run with root privileges. That's the most powerful user on any system. And that creates a pretty significant risk, right? If an attacker ever managed to compromise that daemon, they could potentially control the entire host machine. Podman, because it's daemonless, was designed from day one to run containers as a regular, unprivileged user. This isn't some setting you have to turn on. It's the default behavior right out of the box. And that rootless approach is a massive win for security. It all comes down to the principle of least privilege. In a worst-case scenario, what we call a container breakout, where a process somehow escapes the container, the potential damage is hugely limited. Why? Because the escaped process only has the permissions of a regular user, not the all-powerful root user who can mess with the entire system. Okay, so you might be thinking, this daemonless, rootless architecture sounds awesome, but is it going to be a huge pain to switch over? And that's what Section 4 is all about. What's the day-to-day developer experience actually like? How compatible are the commands? And here is your answer in one beautiful, simple line of code. For so many users, switching to Podman can be literally as easy as creating this command alias. This one line just tells your system, hey, from now on, whenever I type Docker, I actually want you to run Podman. It's that simple. This was a genius move by the Podman team. They made their command line interface a near drop-in replacement for Dockers. For all those commands you're using every single day, run, build, push, pull, the syntax is designed to be identical. For most of us, the learning curve is practically zero. Okay, so this brings us to our final round. We've looked at the architecture, we've looked at the security model, we've looked at the user experience. Now it's time to actually choose a champion based on your specific needs. After everything we've looked at, who takes the belt? Is it the long-reigning champ, Docker, or is it the lean, secure challenger, Podman? And the answer from the judges is it's a split decision. You know, in the world of software engineering, there is rarely a single knockout winner. The best tool always depends on the fight, on the project you're actually building.
Let's break this down by use case. For your day-to-day local app development, Docker's mature ecosystem, with things like Docker Desktop, is still an excellent choice. But Podman is a really strong, lightweight alternative. For CI/CD pipelines, where automation and security are absolutely key, Podman's daemonless architecture is often perfect. And for those high-security environments, well, Podman is the clear favorite there, thanks to its rootless by default security. So the final choice is yours. You've seen the tale of the tape, you've seen the architectural differences, the security trade-offs. Now the only question left is, which of these amazing contenders are you going to put in your corner for your next project?